We're live. I think we're live. We're live when we're live. About to be live when we're not yet live, which is Rock Fan today. No Instagram today. I've had enough of Instagram for a little while. Although it did not kick us off for daring to question Israel's greatness, which I think anybody's greatness can be questioned. Are we like? Thank you, Rock Fan, for that. Okay, fighting the commies at home. Right in your town. This is Propaganda Report. I'm Brad Binkley. As you can see, my setup is a little bit different today, and I'll probably be looking confused to find things on my screen setup because it's all screwed. Because shortly before the show, with all my wires, I was trying to maneuver through them like a bank robber, avoiding the red lasers, and I failed. And I kicked a wire, knocked my computer over. Thank goodness it did not break, but my normal camera setup, cam link that is necessary to use it, is now in 3 pieces. Here's like a board that some tech nerd can, do something with. Nevertheless, I had to throw together another camera setup, which means I'll be getting a new one of these. So if you want to help out the show financially, you can go to tinyurl.com/Brad Binkley. And you can make a one-time donation, or you can make a recurring donation for $1 a month, $5 a month, whatever. And you can help me replace this piece of technology that I stupidly broke earlier today. Or you can go to patreon.com/propaganda report and you can subscribe there. I take out the ads for podcast audio listeners, and it will go directly into your podcast listening app of choice with your private RSS feed. You can also share the show with friends or leave comments that warm my heart, which really make me feel good and help keep me motivated. Thank you to everybody who does that. I hate promoting myself, but I know it has to be done. And I figured, what a perfect little demonstration of how I can do that with how stupid I am for breaking it. Nevertheless, we have a great show for you all today. There's been a lot of protest action going on the past couple of days that's given us a glimpse of what to expect for the rest of Trump's term. We had the protest outside of the Treasury Department, I believe, last night, where a bunch of Democrat congressmen and women or senators or something all went and tried to LARP as Martin Luther King, except the audio was awful and they were screaming into the microphone. And has some interesting clips from that we will show you. But then there was the protest action that happened today, which is more of where the focus of the commies takeover is going to be for the next 4 years. And that was at the state capitals around the country. Allegedly, at all 50 state capitals, I don't know if that's true, but that's the claim, there were protests against Trump's policies outside of them. I know that there was an article here that said that they were doing it in Georgia. And there's some states that are going to be more of a pilot, like a testing ground to see how well this works. Then they will then spread to other states. And one of those states is Colorado, where there's a lot of commies in Colorado from what I can tell, and a lot of action going on today. Unfortunately, we have a woman on the ground who can give us insights into what's going on and also help us understand some good ways to fight back. Welcome back to the show, a crowd favorite, and the beautiful and the lovely and the insightful Forest Mommy. Welcome to the show. How are you doing?
Crowd favorite, really.
Absolutely.
I'm trying to retweet this really quick that you're live because this is so interesting. Because
crazy, yeah. I mean, like we could really do a show for like 5 hours on this because of how much material they put out for these activists. We were talking before the show, and because you sent me some stuff going on there a couple hours ago, and it was crazy because the stuff that the people were saying in your part of the country was exactly what the activist organizer instructors were telling their minions to do. And I'm like, man, this stuff is so effective. So what's going on in Colorado right now?
Okay, so everyone knows they brought all these Venezuelans up here, the NGs, ATT, the NGOs, all these people. This happened in Colorado because it's a sanctuary state. I mean, before that, Colorado's been commie at the state capitol especially, and all this. So just so people know, like you said, it's been a testing ground out here for the progressive fascist commies. So anyway, obviously Trump got in office. And before this all happened, the mayor of Denver was like, me and 50,000 Denverites are going to stand between ICE and the immigrants, and the Highlands moms are going to fight us. And the Highlands is not to be confused with Highlands Ranch. The Highlands is a neighborhood of Denver that used to have a bunch of Hispanics in it that got gentrified by white women, and now the white women. Yeah, and now they've been housing them, and they've been listing them on like a chart, spreadsheet of like labor they can do. Like, it's literally that help, and they're getting some funds. Some of these NGOs, some of it from taxpayers.
They're fighting for their slaves. It was what it sounds like.
And they're getting paid for their slaves too, to
That's
protect
crazy.
their slaves.
So what's interesting about that is some of the clips I was watching. This was 2 days ago. They did this marathon training session, and it was like a motivation session where they had all these big activists that apparently are influential in these groups come and speak on this Zoom call. And one of the ladies was a nurse who talked about how we have local nursing groups, and we recruit people there. What were they doing? They were protesting. So they were striking where I can't remember where she was, but they were refusing to give service. That was one of the ways they were fighting back. But I thought it was interesting that they infiltrated these micro groups of nurses. And then they had a teacher who was like, so I met a bunch of the people that I recruited through these mom groups where we would all get together, and she just brought them into these commie groups. It sounds like that's what they're doing in Colorado.
Yeah, it's heck of a new, like a pyramid scheme.
It really is. They got nothing to do all day except, post on Nextdoor and Neighbor about, what's in the sky.
And these are the types that would trans their kids for attention. So, like, this is the new way to get attention and, feel virtuous.
And that's another issue that is of local focus, which they talk a lot about in these activist trainings. There's the national issues that they can do some demonstrations for, like we saw last night. But then there's the local issues where you can capture that issue and prevent change from happening or cause change to happen only at the local level. And the ICE thing, where they're encouraging their states not to follow any of the, like, literally to fight ICE, which is probably not smart. And the schools, which is why they're targeting the school boards with all of these protest actions. I showed on the show the other day, mobilize.us is one of the sites they use to organize all these. There was like 15 activist direct action things they were doing at the school boards all around Georgia. And I'm sure they're doing it across the country. Continue. You're sparking so much that I'll jump in from time to time, but I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah, no, it's fine, because even today, Mr. Forrest Mom was like, you need to calm down. I was like, it's from this morning. I mean, I'm obviously watching everything as much as I can, and I get so much info from so many different places. And it just started early this morning with these Islands moms. I was getting screenshots from these groups because there's people in these groups, and they're just like, look what they're saying. Like, and then all these other groups that are like part of like all these NGO webs and stuff where they're like, this is what, call this number if ICE is coming, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, these moms are saying they're, So that was this morning. And then, like, as the afternoon was building, all of a sudden there was this protest down at the Denver Capitol, a protest, right? Just showed there's a lot going on because there was a trans thing being heard today where it was actually brought by Republicans. It was House Bill 1068, but it was basically like saying if a doctor doesn't want to do trans surgery to kids, they don't have to, and they shouldn't be able to get sued. They have to, they can't lose their licenses or whatever.
That's an attack on democracy. That's what that is.
That's an attack. So they brought all these people in. So I'm listening. I couldn't even listen to most of it because some of these people I've heard before. Doctors coming in and they're saying because of this, it's going to hurt trans kids, and the whole same thing. Like, I've heard the routine so many times. So that was going on. And then as this was going, the protest was building, and there was like trans people, gay people, tons of Mexicans. No one's even worried about Mexicans. People are worried about the criminal Venezuelan gangs. Like, and so, but all those people in the NGOs wrote these signs. They all showed up, and the kids showed, like I said before, they let the kids out of school because they've been targeting the schools. So the schools have been told, let the kids walk out and go join this. And like, so that started growing. And it was just like, it just is insane how well we tried to we had a gun rally last week. You think that many people showed up to that, but also those people are productive and have jobs. These people aren't.
No, you're right. It's a lot of young liberal kids who are wealthy and they grew up wealthy, got nothing to do, and sounds like moms who are staying at home, finding stuff to get upset about. And I mean, these are groups they target. They target these people with resources and time who they feel can be manipulated. I think I have one of the clips that you share. Is this what the presentation from one of the transing?
Yeah, so this lady, and I've heard her, I posted it too, but I heard her 2 years ago for the first time. But yeah, just this is someone who works for One Colorado, which is an NGO that's part of the whole web and all this. And she's like she says she's a doctor, but she's a sociology. She's got a doctorate in sociology. So just remember that.
It's okay. She's right. So she's like Bill Nye the Science Guy in climate.
Yeah.
And she's protesting that bill that you said.
Yeah, she's in opposition.
Okay.
Yes. Because it will kill trans kids, of course.
She wants to force doctors to have to do trans surgery, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jax Gonzalez. Thank you, Representative Chair and
Dr. Jax?
Yeah, I'll show you a picture. I'll drop
Representative
a picture.
Kyle Brown and the esteemed members of the committee. I am the political director for One Colorado, the state's leading LGBTQ advocacy organization.
So that's the NGO?
Yeah.
And I'm here today to oppose HB 25-1068. We've heard from a primary care doctor.
They should have stuff like that in when they
who provides gender affirming care in Colorado. This doctor's words paint a picture of how this bill could harm both providers and patients. And I'd like to share part of their testimony with you. I'm a primary care provider who has the privilege of providing gender affirming care to transgender youth in Colorado. This bill will disrupt
but not surgical care for her, right?
No. Yeah, she basically explains that she helps convince parents to do this to kids, even though she's not a doctor. But that's a whole nother point.
Right. So she's an abuser.
And she used to work for Boulder County Health in the gender affirming care section that was government funded. Like, she's just,
That's awful.
Patient-provider relationship and undermine the right of families to make decisions about their child's health. 1 year ago, I saw an adolescent and their family about their gender identity and hopes for the future. We discussed their journey. We talked about everyone's worries and concerns. I explained what gender affirming care can look like, the options, alternatives, risks, and benefits. In the end, this adolescent decided to continue on their self-discovery without medical intervention, with regular follow-ups from their mental health provider.
I'm surprised that they didn't force that kid to have the trans surgery.
Right. Yeah, they put that in the testimony that time. And her other one from last year, she's like, 2 years is a lifetime for a 13-year-old to get on puberty blockers.
God. I would like to see this cost benefit analysis she did. She says they told them the benefits and then the cost. I bet she doesn't fully explain what some of those consequences are.
Oh, no.
Just this week, this family returned, terrified by the recent threats to gender affirming care for minors. When I reassured them that I would continue to support them, the relief on their face was palpable. I am saddened to think that their care is now being questioned by politicians.
She's a hero.
She's so brave. She's so brave. And that's how they present themselves. I don't care what Trump does to me. I will continue to try and trans your kid.
Who think they know better than the family, the child, and the trusted healthcare provider. As this provider states, the decision what's best for a transgender youth should remain with families and medical professionals, not politicians. This bill is a clear example of government overreach that disregards the dignity and autonomy of families. Allowing politicians to interfere in health decisions not only puts transgender youth at risks, but also opens the door for further government control over all types of personal medical decisions. Sets a dangerous set.
So she's not doing a good job because she should have started with that personal control of your own medical decisions and then teased it out to that. Something people can agree with. I don't want people having control over me. And then yeah, let's trans your kids. Then you get them.
Sets a dangerous precedent. In conclusion, I urge you to vote no on 1068. Trust in families and healthcare providers to make decisions in the best interest of the child without the interference of government overreach. This bill does not protect patients, it harms them. Thank you for your time and consideration. I'm available to answer questions, including for rates of care and detransition.
And she's offering detransition services there.
She'll give the correct detrans numbers, because there's been some stuff that came out about that. They used to say only 1% regret it. Well, now it's more like 30% regret it, especially if it happened as a kid. So
right. It's like they ask them immediately, do you regret this? And 99% say no. And then they don't ask them again, I guess. So I wonder what the response in there was. I wonder if there's a lot of people agreeing with her. I imagine the room was full, the public comment time, because they try and dominate that. But
it was all those paid people like her that were, there was more of that than for it. Yeah.
I just can't imagine. Like, doesn't even seem serious. It's so cartoonish. I could see that. I could see this being like an episode of Seinfeld, even back in the day. Not now. They wouldn't do that. Yes. But we talked last night about Cumberbatch, the guy who plays Doctor Strange, opening up about how he would not have played a trans character in the Ben Stiller, the model movie, Zoolander 2, which came out in 2016. And he said that he had to apologize for so many people for playing a trans character that should have gone to just a trans actor. And I'm like, this poor guy's apologizing. He should be testifying with this lady here. Who wants to force a doctor who doesn't want to, chop a kid's dick off or, turn a woman's vagina into a penis? Who wants to force that person to do that? Why don't you just find somebody who would do it? It's very bizarre.
Which there's plenty. They all showed up. They showed up, and then I have doctor friends and stuff, and everyone's just disgusted. And of course they said they lie that they have, if you don't do this, they'll kill themselves. And they all say that. And I'm like, maybe you're doing something to them that's making them want to kill themselves, whether you do the surgeries or not.
They got one kid. Look how much of a loser this kid who you won't let transition is. He's got a gun, and he blows his head off right there. That's extreme, but they like to do those type of demonstrations to call attention to it. And a kid killing themselves and this being attributed as a cause is actually something that they would love, because it would enable them to focus.
And they'll make it happen. They found one of these grants from the government went to study how trans kids react to something and how much they kill themselves. So it was literally a Discord program. Yeah, it was an MK Ultra program.
Yeah. Oh God, you sent me the photo of her. So this is this one. Let me make this a little bit bigger. This is the organization she's with. This is like a follow the money thing.
Yeah, so that was just the end of it. It's huge, but I was just laughing because it's National Fish and Wildlife part of it. Further up, Kaiser, this Rose Community Foundation, they pop up in all this stuff. It's part of the money washing organization, but Kaiser, of course, Kaiser would support this stuff, right? And then the American Heart Association is part of it. And this stuff. So I don't know if you've looked at this website yet. It's from the Data Republican, who kind of did what Oilfield Rando did, and all these people who are looking at the government grants and just basically made a website to graph it all out.
Yeah, that's great.
The web of them, which it's insane. So
they got to hide it behind all these organizations.
Oh yeah, and they've been doing it for so long too. It's just so that's why they're mad. Well, Telluride's a city in Denver. Or in Colorado, where it's a rich blue person. So or area, because it's a ski area. So if it has to do with that, that would make sense that it's just some Democrat thing. Some fund that's the Rose Community Foundation. They gave the women who were supposedly writing the checks, putting the Venezuelans into these slums, that their slums were so awful. The Rose Community Foundation gave those two women who are NGO CFOs or COs or whatever, gave them an award, the Rose Community Foundation Leaders Award or something. It's seriously as bad as it is in front of our faces. And I'm glad this all went mainstream, but yeah, today's just been
What's crazy is some of these people are cashing in on this, the organizers that prove themselves, because this is where they recruit the next politicians from, is the ones who are able to communicate this message the best and organize people around it. But the activists who they get to do their dirty work and all this protest stuff, that you got to face ICE on the front lines, they don't get shit. They're just doing it for free. sometimes get thrown in jail if they're convinced they need to, because it's morally correct. It's always part of their message. Throw a Molotov cocktail at a Republican's office or something like that, and their life is ruined, and they don't give a shit about that. Here's the lady that you. This is okay. So now that I see this woman, it makes a lot more sense right there.
Just gross.
Very beautiful woman right there. Hi, I'm Jack.
Just looks
J-A-X.
like scary to kids. There's another picture of her like leaning down, looking at a bunch of kids, and I was like, if I was a kid, I would have been straight scared of someone who looked like that. Like I just knew how I would feel like.
I try to stay away from doctors with giant neck tattoos, personally.
No. Oh, she went to CU Boulder, of course, and then became a doctor associate. Like that's a lot of these people's past. A lot of these activists too. A lot of them were just kids who graduated poli-sci and had nowhere else to go. You know, and then they got into these NGOs and these nonprofits. They show up and write signs, and it's just
a lot of these things don't even let them write the signs. They won't. Some of the ones I went to when I was LARPing as them, you couldn't bring your own sign because they didn't want any rogue messages getting in there. They had them written, and they would give them out. This is another weird thing here on her site. Just this language. She says, "Born of a desire to work directly with students." It's a weird thing to say. I think I've always had a desire to work around children.
Yeah.
God, dude.
I know. It's like, so that's why, as you've been preaching about, and everyone else, like, because that's what he was all like, what's wrong? Like, because they're all like, Trump's saving us. And I'm like, but you don't understand the fight here in Colorado, especially now that they're thrashing and circling the wagons and all these. The MK Ultra programs, all these brainwashing programs are really coming to head. Like we have such a huge fight out, like for us or in Georgia, all Stoner.
Stoner, after seeing that doctor said boner alert. Yeah, I have to agree. Very good looking woman for they. So the Democrat states are the ones that they're going to target the hardest with this. They're going to go a little more covert in the conservative states based on their training. But yeah, that's one of the issues that they're going to be hitting up on the school boards. They're going to be saying, you need to ignore the federal message, and they will be using the more power to the state government, which libertarians and Republicans say they want, against them if the libertarians and Republicans don't show up like you do.
Yeah, and like the PTAs, like there's a lady who my friend's been kind of like exposing for years as part of the PTA. She showed up and did this, and the PTA went to Arvada City Council to say, oh, you can't let ICE take the kids and blah blah. Like they're going everywhere, the city councils, and she's PTA. That's an association where they do legislative work and stuff, and she looks like a demon. And I'm like, that's what's
crazy how you can tell.
You sometimes. Can just tell. Like that lady, she looks like a demon.
Right. If I see a lady like that, the first thing I think is, I'm like, oh man, she's got some issues. And I feel sorry for her a little bit if I didn't know what she did. But to find out that she's like a counselor for kids is like, don't. I mean, that's somebody that would show up to an improv show at midnight and get super hammered and just start weirding people out. Like you meet a lot of interesting people, a lot of cool people at theaters, but also a lot of weird people. And she fits the bill as one of them. And then at the end of the night, after she's driven half of the people away, she's like, oh, I'm a counselor. I'm a doctor for kids. I encourage them. You're like, oh, well, that makes perfect sense. Weirdo.
Yeah.
So here's a clip about the ICE stuff. How communities should respond. This is from one of their trainings. God, these people. Like, Jerry from New Jersey asked, look at this couple. This is the most psychopath couple I've ever seen in my life.
Is it a group couple or the yeah. That was two.
It's this group right here. These
two. There's like white beard, and their camera's all gross and foggy.
Gross.
Like
it's got like little the little bit of semen he has left is all over that camera. It's disgusting. And I can't I have a hard time believing that he does not watch her bang black guys. I think.
Yeah. Or just not bang her, just never bang ever at all. She withholds it from him in like a cruel way.
Right. Yeah. She won't let him pretend it's a penis, and that kills it for him. You're right. Like, they do this on purpose, this look, because they want it to look like all the people they're talking to.
Yeah, they're average. They're average people. They totally weren't born into this and aren't part of this whole like machine, billionaire funded machine.
There were staffers, and Maddow talks about them literally all the time. MSNBC Maddow show is it's a activist vehicle for all of the things that they spread. It's crazy. Here they are.
How should communities respond when we see ICE police roaming the streets? What resources does Indivisible provide?
And now what those women were asking just today that you noticed.
Great question.
Yes.
All right. So short answer. There are a ton of different organizations and entities out there that are offering different versions of Know Your Rights trainings right now. I think if you are
there's demons out there.
If you are not personally impacted by ICE, you might not understand that these are actually really helpful and important for everyone to know and understand, right? Because if you are in, a store that ICE enters.
The way she talks. The way she talks and like
it's just so like I could not be around these people. They have a sense of power over this group they're talking to, so they talk with this very disingenuous, almost condescending, but I'm helping you, stupid child tone.
Yes.
If you are unable to stop you understanding what rights everyone on the bus has and how you should be interacting with ICE can have a huge impact. So what I would say is we will send out, I see that somebody's already popping the United We Dream link in the chat.
Great.
United We Dream is a great resource on this for folks. Again, whether you are impacted or whether you want to be an ally to people who are impacted, understanding how you should interact with ICE, strongly recommend signing up for a Know Your Rights training. I know a bunch of Indivisible groups have been partnering with other organizations to do Know Your Rights trainings locally. That is a great activity to do to make sure as much of your community is aware as possible. I don't know if everyone saw this, but
yeah, so that I tried to find the exact Know Your Rights training, which I couldn't.
I'm sure I know the groups. I totally know the groups out here that have been doing it. I totally know them. Like, I know what they did.
They put the Google Docs in these chats, but they're not available afterwards, and the chat live chat is gone. Sometimes they make these videos, they make them not private, but they make them non-public, so you have to look in the playlist to find them. But they do have a lot of these Google instructions on their website, but that one in particular, I'm not sure what it was, but they talked a lot about that issue, about the ICE raids. There's a couple more I want to show you here. ICE community. Okay, does this show you how they respond when it's on the street? Yeah, I showed you that one. Yeah, here's another ICE.
We come to this week, and Trump on his first day, not only does he take away Biden's expansion, he scraps the whole damn thing. He has told ICE, go ahead, raid the preschools. Go ahead, raid the elementary schools.
No, and he hasn't.
Raid the hospital.
Right.
It's the criminals. They're just going after whatever. I'm sure there's some bad shit that's going to happen. It's a government, but like they're going after the actual known criminals and stuff. I don't.
Right. Some elementary school children might be criminals, but isn't this why they let the kids out of school in Colorado today? Is for this very reason what he's saying?
Well, yeah, and like you said, they've been going to the school boards, and the school boards say which my school district has pedophiles in it left and right, but they're worried if they bring up at the board meeting, oh, we're going to fight against ICE coming to our schools. But the thing is, these kids at their school, the undocumented kids, they don't even know if they're actual parents. They are just a number to them. They don't even know if these kids are they don't even know what's going on. And then they're saying they're going to protect these kids. It's so gross and fake.
That's a great.
Yeah, they let them out.
They had to go to the school boards. They had to put pressure on officials there in order to get them to take the kids out of school in protest. And that's the commies taking over your town, is doing that exact stuff. And that is what the focus of this initiative that starts with, amazingly enough, this weird, strange-looking guy who probably dreams about, is that MLK or John Lewis behind him, banging his weird little mousy wife.
Ugh. It's just so gross too, because they know, like you said, they know the power they have, and it's so they're
totally.
So gross.
And look at these pictures he's got. He like taped on the wall behind him next to this guitar. He probably knows he plays 3 chords. He's like, "Bang my wife harder, please." Whatever. It's like he's got pictures of minorities behind him.
Yeah, one of our state legislators, she always decorates her office door with like BLM, blah blah blah, down at the Capitol. It's the same cheesy shit. And she was there today, like, this is democracy, the protests. And she's also made she made in 1 year for her and her nonprofit that she funds through the legislator. She made $15 million and pays herself. She pays herself $133,000 while complaining that the legislature pay is too low. But no big deal.
There's money in this if you're good at compartmentalizing, manipulating, and public speaking, just like in politics. It's crazy. When people I know go to this stuff, they start talking about it. I don't know that this is effective, but I just tell them, I'm like, look, they don't like you. They think you're stupid. And whenever they say something that could be skewed in the least bit racist, or they could say that's anti-Semitic. I say that. I'm like, you're very racist and anti-Semitic according to the people that you love to follow.
Right.
They usually just get mad at me, but.
Here's the thing. I've said this before.
See how fucking serious this asshole is. Here's the thing.
We do not have to meekly give in to Trump's directives.
Like, is this a guy you want leading you in a fight?
Never.
This guy.
Depending on the issue, depending on where we live, we may have power to fight back at the federal level, at the state level, or the local level. And in this specific case, focusing on this issue, our power is local. Hundreds of school districts across the country have adopted what's known as a safe zone resolution. And basically what it says is, hey, we're going to protect immigrants and their children from ICE terrorizing them. That's basically what it says. Now, hundreds have adopted that resolution. Hundreds have. But there are more than 10,000 school districts in this country. Your local school board can and should adopt one of these resolutions. And
there you go.
In the last 24 hours, we've been working with those fine folks at NEA, the teachers union, to put together some briefing materials and sample resolution. Literally 10 minutes ago, we got this cleared. So there's a 16-page Google Doc that I'm going to put in the chat. If you are feeling overwhelmed by the last 72 hours, if you're not sure what you should do, or even if it's worth doing anything at all, this isn't everything. This isn't going to solve all of our problems. But you know what this is? This is a bite-sized thing you can do. This is a real actionable thing you can do. This is something that will measurably improve the lives of children and families in your own community, and it will demonstrate to them that they're not alone. That yes, their administration might be attacking them, but they got folks in their own community that are looking out for them. At Indivisible, we want to be informed, we want to share information, we want to share truth, but most of all, we want to take that information and take action. That's why we do what we do.
So that very manipulative, almost. I mean, that is almost. I don't like throwing evil around. I think people rationalize things that can ultimately appear like evil acts. But this guy knows that he's full of shit. This guy has become rich off of doing this, whatever this little demonstration he is. In fact, they probably chose this guy and his wife because of how weird they look. Because they're leaders of the weird. If they were good looking, they would not be relatable to the, bike-looking ladies like that other, like that. It's just, they probably have dinner once a month with that Colorado lady, and they probably go through that Google Doc. And they also talk quite often about specific language in different ways to, just like they do politicians, code switching and stuff like that. And they give them direct scripts. You can just click on a button and the script will come up on your screen, or you can download an app and the script for what you're supposed to say at rallies, what you're supposed to say when you call your congressperson or go downtown will pop right up. You can be the stupidest person on the planet if you just listen to them. And there's a couple moments where they take questions in these things and somebody's like, do I have to watch the news all the time? And they're kind of like, no, you don't have, you can basically just listen to us. You don't need to watch the news at all. will tell you what's going on. And this ICE thing is interesting because Trump has not deported people any faster than Obama did. He's not, like, the rate at which Obama did it, Trump has not exceeded. There was an article in Politico today saying Trump's mass deportation promise has not happened. Only the PR about it. They've only focused on it, while Obama, I'm presuming, probably didn't focus attention on it. So it's not any different.
They went after the criminals then, too. Like, if someone was a freaking criminal that they knew, it's just, and it was like just to get these protests going, to make it seem like they're doing, it was called, there was like a hashtag, I don't know, maybe you were going to bring it up, but it was like, was the resistance or something. And it's like, you people are like, what are you resisting? You're resisting that the government stops wasting money and actually spends it on, like, the country, and, like, like, it's just, it's so insane what's going on. Oh, hi,
and it's so self-serving to these people too.
Yeah.
Raw Meat Herd says on Rockfin that this guy looks vax injured, Bell's palsy or something. Definitely looks like something's wrong with him. There's no doubt about that.
I think after I looked them up last time, and they're both like rich kids from Texas. I'm connected somehow. And blah blah blah.
He looks like he masturbates on sleeping women's thighs. That's what he looks like to me.
Oh God.
Because one more of these. Yeah, and the focus on that one being local. Show up with your friends. Here's one more of these things here. God, there's a couple. Did I play this one already?
Able to reach him through calling. You need to put pressure on him in other public ways. You can make the point that he is not being accessible to you. You can write a letter to the editor. You can show up at a local congressional office of Booker's or any senators. They have congressional offices spread all across the state. You can just show up. You really can. It is a public office. You can walk in and say, hey, I was trying to call. Wasn't able to get through voicemail, was full. So I just showed up with 10 of my friends and we would like your comments on X. Again, nothing against Booker on this in particular, but it is a reasonable expectation as a constituent that you are able to share your opinions with your representatives in Congress. So if they are not taking that input and there's no other way to reach them, your only recourse is more public pressure or showing up in person at their congressional offices.
I have one.
So I think that was a different clip that I intended, but they emphasize very much after striking fear, and all of their messages start with, "You should be very afraid," and then here's what you should do, and this idea that get 10 of your other stupid friends with you, and go try and humiliate the people, which I don't even disagree that is a good way to get attention to something,
right?
But
these are the losers showing up and not the good people.
Right.
Don't show.
And it's not these people on screen showing up either. They're not putting themselves at risk of getting arrested. They're not screaming and, perhaps committing a felony without realizing it. That's going to be on the record and hurt their chances of getting a job. They're getting paid to do. I mean, this guy looks like he's dying of AIDS. I'm going to be honest. He looks like he is.
He's sickly looking.
He's very sickly looking. They had to make him that way if they were gonna have a white guy be the one of the leads of this. No shit, thigh masturbator. Yeah, that's right. Very much so. But all those people that they switch through that I was mentioning earlier that come on these training sessions, they all start their message. This is their format with a different version of "You are going to die and everything is hopeless, but." Not if you just do what we tell you. And then they close the message. It's such a depressing thing that targets people who are emotionally and psychologically vulnerable.
Yeah, it feels like they're doing something. They are sick. These people are sick. They're blocking traffic and stuff. And I'm like, okay, the government, it's just.
Yeah. Are they doing that in Colorado?
Yeah, they started blocking. I haven't checked in lately to see how far bad it's gone, but they were spilling over in the streets into the neighborhoods and blocking streets. And it's like, yeah, block the people who are paying the taxpayer dollars to pay for you guys a lot of you guys to show up, and the immigrant. It's like, they're so, it is a magic spell. Let's call it evil or whatever. Like, it's a magic spell they have on these people because there's no logic. There's no logic.
Totally.
Oh, and all these people who are showing up saying they're the resistance, they also support gun control. So, like, like, it's, just.
Yeah. So in Georgia, and maybe there too, there's a group that every day while the legislative whatever is in session, they're going down and they're protesting guns every single day. They take a picture.
Yeah.
They all go down there. I guess they have nothing else to do. It's people who need a purpose in their life. They are able to find them, attract them, sometimes infiltrating these mom groups and nurse groups like we were talking about, and they give them a purpose, which is this, which puts them on a highway with cars. We've seen people run over people who do this. These two idiots aren't standing on a highway.
Nope.
They're getting paid to go have fucking suck sessions with an army of black guys while he like watches.
Oh God! Or there's children involved. Like, that's what I'd imagine. I mean, no, but we had a gun. Yeah. They had a gun bill. So and this is actually kind of something good, a little good news. I guess I'm never on Reddit, but I guess there's a Reddit that's liberal gun owners. And they were saying, like, because everyone who shows up to testify pro guns is these nutso women who are crying. They're all white Karen lookings, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And everyone who shows up pro gun, we got Mexicans, we got female business owners, we got black people, we got every kind of I guess in the liberal gun Reddit in Colorado, they're pissed at the law. And then they're like, look at this. Like, you want diversity. Look which side's diverse. It's like, there's no question about it that it's like white Karens who are crazy and crying and then like real people. So that's right. Good. Not that it matters. I'm sure they're going to still pass it to some regard, but it's just like.
Well, and that's why what you do going down there is important, especially for people in Democrat controlled areas. Republican areas, they're going to change the language a little bit and try and sound like somebody that isn't so crazy, which I do have a clip of that. I'm talking about that in a minute. But so what would your recommendation for anybody who wanted, because this is going on, especially in Democrat areas, but it's going to be going on all across the country for the next 4 years, for people who want to go and speak out against this, because this is a very well-ran giant machine. They have 1,100 activist groups across the country. They're featured on MSNBC routinely, and tens of thousands of people watch these videos.
I don't know. It's hard because people have and like you said, like I don't want to make my life this mean either. So that's why I hate going down. I actually don't go down as much as I should because I hate it. Right. But I guess if you know you can never show up for something, at least just spread the word. At least I always say in Colorado on Sunday nights, we have someone who goes over the legislative session and just goes over the bills. If you could just watch stuff like that and share that with some people, like that, it's just what they do. It's just, they're so organized and it's so hard to get, especially with the Trump win, which it almost now feels like it's on purpose to make people like, oh, Trump's going to fix it. It's fine. And I'm like, all this stuff was getting set up in his first freaking term. This stuff was going on then out here where it was building into all this. So it's like.
And they launched their group Indivisible, they say, because Trump won and they needed to stop him. And there was a video, Rachel Maddow famously featured them, and overnight they blew up. I mean, it was all planned to make this group. These are operatives that they put there. I mean, look at this guy's face in this. His face looks warped. I mean, he looks like the gayest Klingon.
The evil has to come out, though. Like I said, there's some of these people that are out testimony on this. Like they just look like it's not right. Something's not right about
and the
them.
Stuff they say, it has no logic to it, while the other people you're talking about, the stuff they say, it makes sense. If you take away all the bullshit propaganda and you could just present these two arguments to people who have been unaffected by that, it would be, that's ridiculous, crazy. Are you kidding? Yes, obviously, to the people who are pro-gun. But they're able to kind of flip reality on its head. But you're right. So not just Trump's promise to fix it, but also the show. It's entertaining. it's entertaining, and I laugh my ass off at a lot of it. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions about the Palestine, the Gaza thing. I personally think housing prices are going to be to die for on the Gaza Strip in the coming future. I thought that was hilarious just because I'm watching this as, man, there's a twist nobody saw coming. Like it's just this constant feeding, keeping people on their screens and not recognizing what really weird-looking people like this might be doing in their own hometown.
Right.
It's better to spend your time, if you care about some of those freedoms, at least calling attention to this activism shit. Like I was reading through the Colorado stuff after you sent me those links. It really seems crazy there to me. Like it seems wild.
It's nuts, especially in Arvada in Jefferson County, especially even more than Denver. I think it's insane out here what these people have, the plan, and now the operatives like Progress Now. I'm sure you've seen Progress Now. They're like, they helped all this stuff out here in Colorado. It's the same sort of thing. Ugly people who are like operatives. Like
they're never good looking.
No, never.
Yeah. When you go do stuff on the ground, I know you meet up. You have just meetups with like libertarians in the area, and you go speak out. Do you go to the capital of the state? Do you go to closer by government offices? Like, what's your go-to when you're fighting the commies?
Well, right now it's down at the state, which I hate going down there because it's downtown. I especially am not going to go now that there's this crap going on once it clears up. But and then my county building or my county like commissioners, I like to go speak at those or just pay attention to those because
how do you know when those happen, when you have those opportunities?
You just have to keep watching the website, and some of them, a lot of them, they're Zoom, so you can watch them live, but they're not recorded. They're not recorded.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a lot of people out here now. There's a lot of we have enough network where people are recording them, so it's not getting completely lost and all this. But yeah, you just have to check. And like the Arvada, city Arvada, I haven't been in person in a while, but I watch them every Monday night. They do like they have a regular one Monday night, and then one with where no public comment or something the next Monday. But they do an earlier one that no one really knows about before the real one. So you can go sit in on that, but no one knows about it. It's just what they do.
They do make it hard to find some of that stuff, even on the website.
Yeah, the more local, the harder it is. So the state stuff's a little easier to figure out now, like the state legislative, because it's a capital. It's big, But then the localer stuff is just a lot more secretive.
And government corruption, it's everywhere federally, obviously, but locally, it's unchecked. There's nobody paying attention to it. There's like empires in some parts of the country that have just, it's like a straight up mafia because nobody goes to challenge them ever because they don't know how to. People are paying attention to other stuff. And
it's on a Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. when when the productive people of the world are being productive, but these people are doing this crap, you know.
They put every obstacle they can to prevent people from coming down and doing anything that would.
And whenever you do show up, they go, "Oh, we're so happy people are showing up," and it's like, "No, you're not, liar. You're not happy at all
about that." But that's what commies do. That's always been a commie thing, is that they recognize that these obstacles are there, and they can get these mind-controlled slaves who are willing to endure them. So they'll do the shit nobody else wants to do because for some reason they have nothing else to do. And that's why. Which
I don't either, but I would rather do nothing.
It's like a full-time job. I mean, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
I think if calling attention, if people spent you want to watch the Trump show for a couple of hours or however much time you spend watching it during the week, cut that in half. And even if it's exciting, say, you know what? I'm going to resist it because it's not going to stop. It's not going to stop for 4 years. It's going to be fast, crazy stuff. It's going to be quite a show. Never before seen in history. Say, I'm not missing out on anything because there'll be something crazier tomorrow. Split that time in half and focus on, let me learn a little bit about what's going on here and maybe call attention to something. You said that they delete the videos. They don't. So what people can do there is you can screen capture those videos. Yeah. You can download OBS and it'll capture the audio and the video. It's not too hard. There's probably other programs that do it even easier than that. And that is I think, a way to fight back, because you can then go through it, find the really radical stuff they don't want people to hear, and put
Clip
it online.
it. Yeah, you clip a little bit. That's like, and another good thing is too, you got to have a network of people. Like I have my one lady who I love her to death, Natalie Mitten. She watches the tax. She's been a tax fighter out here for 20 years. So like, she's always on top of that. I have my friends who are parents who are more on top of the school thing. And I may have said this before on here, but like the thing I realized someone told me about fighting school stuff. I don't have kids. They retaliate against people with kids when you speak up. So if you don't have kids and you can speak up against these psychos, do it. Because like I told, like, hey, I don't have, like, I'm uncancelable anyway. So that's why I'm like, that's why I have to do this stuff. But it's like, someone said that they said, no, it's actually good. You start, because I always felt weird a little bit about going to like school board meeting. I don't have kids, but then they're like, no, we need more people who don't have kids to speak up because they can't retaliate against you. They have no retaliation.
What do they do?
Just like teachers will be mean, and then it's union stuff. It's just union stuff to the kids. Yeah, they'll retaliate against kids or do weird things, and a lot of parents don't speak up because they know this, and it's like sad. So
they're like, that lesbian teacher made my kid wear a ball gag and time out for 2 hours the other day.
They would too. The legal lady here, she said it's fine for the preteen and boys and girls to be together in a outdoor ed. It's fine for them to dorm together. And she looks like a nasty bull dyke. They all look like nasty bull dykes. They got all these pedophiles, and I'm like, there's something nasty, really bad going on. I don't know if I told you this. The chief of schools, right, on December 19th, got fired. He's in some sort of child porn ring. And then he kills himself. He kills himself on New Year's Eve. And they try to they've been covering it up, and they've been getting together, and it's all about their feelings. And it's just like, what?
The children have lost a mentor, they probably say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The legal lady, she went to his funeral, and she's she says psycho stuff. And I'm like, what? There was something going on, because I did court. Oh, information requests are really easy to do. They always try to charge you money sometimes, but you can fight back. You just find out your county, your school district, your city. Think of emails you might want to check on this project, that project. The information request I don't have good attention span, but it's like, if you can get them, there's always someone else who will help you review them to see if there's anything good.
So that's hard to do these information requests. One of the barriers to a lot of action is simply it's something that people have never done before, and it's always like, oh, I got to learn something new. But sometimes when we just overcome that, we'll be like, oh, that was a lot easier than I thought.
Yeah, I did that too. It took me a while to do it, and then I was like, what the? Why was I putting, like, it's so half of them, it's just like you have to fill in a little couple boxes with your information. Some people don't like to do it because your name is there, and your information requests are public, obviously, but if anyone wanted to look, and the people have to like get the emails for it. But yeah, and then you just like, it's more about the wording, like all emails between this person and this person on this day and things like that. And sometimes they'll come back, like my county and my school district tried to charge you with them, and then it's like, okay, let's play around with it, and we're going to only say this day or something. So, but yeah, it's a lot easier. It's the looking through it. The looking through it is the hardest part on that, really, at that point.
So they try and flood you with too much.
Yeah, or they'll make you try to pay for it so you won't get it. But I had filed the information request right after that guy got fired because of my friend. She's like, let's start hitting them, right? So I was like, she told me what to ask for. I asked for it. So, but I didn't get the stuff back till after he had killed himself. So now I'm looking through this dead man's emails, and like,
that's crazy.
The only weird thing I found was like he was trying to delete his LinkedIn. He's like, please delete this LinkedIn. Something terrible happened, and I don't know how to delete my LinkedIn. And then I'm like, oh, that's curious. What's going on like, is there some web on LinkedIn of these like creepy all these educational people bounce around too, even if they have like a weird thing, So it's like, so we'll see.
Yeah. So how long had he been in the district he was in?
He had been in for a long time, and in other districts too, for this position and that position. His wife's a principal, and like he was this and then this, and so he was the chief of schools, which is like almost towards the top. So he was like he was like second down or maybe third down from the superintendent. Superintendent. And so it's like, what was going on? Like, and the Jeffco sheriff they weren't saying anything. They said the investigation still, because once they kill themselves, sometimes they'll close the investigation because they're dead. So we are worried about that, but it sounds like it's still open, and it sounds like it's a ring, like a whole thing. And it's just like, you just want it to come crumbling down, but you just got to keep hitting it and finding little bits of info to at least make them worried, right? And stuff like that.
There was a teacher near me who was a psychology teacher at high school who got arrested right before Christmas because he had been sexting on Snap with a 13-year-old in like Pennsylvania or something like that. And he got caught because the girl wanted to see his face and stuff, and you know, he would like use photos of his kid to send her, and I think he registered the account with his wife. And the way that he got busted is he was trying to send a dick pic. So he's got the camera pointed at his dick, and he accidentally hit the reverse camera, and it showed his face. He's like 50. And this guy's a psychology teacher.
Yeah. That happened here. They caught some guy sending weird cryptic texts to a young girl. And so he got fired, but he just went to another district. It's just like.
Right. Yeah. What's the quality check on these teachers? Maybe they should pay teachers a little bit more, or just really, I think that's actually.
The union. They didn't get the unions out.
Yeah.
The unions.
I mean, that's the direction you're going in. If you're going to have this let's tell them about your gay boyfriend or your gay husband or lesbian. Like, if that is going to be primary to what they're hiring, like, you get the flag on the back wall. None of that. Nobody ever knew anything about that shit when we were kids. But if you're going to be hiring people where that is what they want to promote, then you're going to attract, I think, probably some creeps. Not to say that those are where only the creeps will be. Teaching, honestly, it sucks, but it's like a shoe salesman. You're going to attract some creeps because there are vulnerable prey in that field, just like Catholic priests and stuff like that. It's, I don't know, man. I always feel like I've been pretty perceptive, and maybe I've missed some people and they have these secret backgrounds I don't know about. But throughout my life, when I've met people who it's like this guy. If I met this guy, like if he walked into the theater for a show and he was talking to people, and I would take my friends aside. I'd be like, don't fall asleep around him. He's going to jack off on your thigh. I say, stay away.
Right.
He's going to diddle your kid. And like five years later, like I've done that. We used to have people that come in all the time, and I said, stay away from that guy. Something wrong with him. And like a couple of years later, you see a news article where they had become a politician in like Marietta, Georgia, and they had a secret relationship with a 12-year-old. And it's just like, I feel like there's just kind of a look to a lot of these people, especially not the professional high end, like Bill Clinton ones. I don't know. Just it sucks. The public school system is so bad. It's so bad. I went through it. It's just. It
doesn't have to be. That's the thing. Like, you don't want you don't want the government doing anything, but it shouldn't be this bad. It shouldn't be this bad.
It shouldn't. And I don't have kids, but if I did, what I would do if they were in the public school system is I would tell them, I'd say, look, if this type of behavior here, I'd make a list. If any of this happens, I don't care if you get in trouble for it, for like saying you don't like it or you won't do it. Tell me, and don't allow it, because that's messed up. And tell me if something that's kind of weird happens. It doesn't feel right. Which maybe some parents do, but I know some people that are guardian ad litem. Well, my sister is a guardian ad litem lawyer. And there's all these examples she tells me. It's like the craziest thing that the people just don't pay attention at all to the influence that the public education system has over their kids or just anybody. It's wild, dude.
Terrible.
And sometimes they own dogs too. They're not treating those dogs well.
Right. Jerks.
Assholes. All right, so this clip is this. I thought this was really funny. Mitch McConnell, not this. Mitch McConnell's old. I don't like cocaine Mitch, but I don't want anything. I don't want anybody to die like that. I am somebody who believes in redemption. I just wish more people saw it. But he fell twice today in the Senate. Shocking. He's like the one. What's the woman who died? Basically, she was a Democrat from California.
Oh, and like then didn't show up for like months or something.
Right, she was, and then she
Yeah.
didn't. As soon as they took away her league, like she didn't have power of attorney over herself. But
She was like an
a
old folks home.
congresswoman.
Yeah, she was in like a memory care unit or
Yeah,
something.
it's crazy.
Like
I can't remember her name, but that's where Mitch McConnell's gotten to. He doesn't need to be there anymore, but he is, and he fell down twice today as an 82-year-old man. And the night before that happened, here's what this Ezra guy of Indivisible, what he said to his activist followers.
So here's my goal for Senate Dems. Pretend like you're Mitch McConnell. Ask what he would do. Think about the tools you can use to block, obstruct, raise the...
So it continues, but fall down, break your hip multiple times like Mitch McConnell, because Mitch McConnell voted against Trump. He goes against Trump. I mean, that's what he's doing, but
temperature.
For him there.
Deny quorum. Block unanimous consent. Max out debate time. Blanket opposition to nominees. Some of these tools, I'll be honest, they're a pain in the butt to use. It forces a senator to stand for a long time. You got to call off your weekend plans. You got to piss off your colleagues. But the tools are there. They're there if you're determined enough to use them. And if you're listening to this, you're like, what the hell is denying consent, unanimous consent? I'm not asking you to be an expert on these things. That's okay. We'll send out an explainer. Don't worry about that.
So I love that part. I'm not asking you to understand what it is that we're asking you to do. I'm just telling you to do it. You dumb shit. I think he meant to say piss on instead of piss off earlier.
Oh God!
You don't have to be an expert on Senate procedure to make these asks. Your credibility, your authority comes from the fact that you are a constituent. That's where your credibility and authority comes from. And I believe the Democrats, if they see the demand to act this way,
no, you don't have credibility and authority because you're a constituent. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
Like,
oh, Lord.
That's why they want to lower the voting age to like 10. Yeah, it should be raised to 35.
Will, and I don't believe that because I'm some starry-eyed idealist.
No women.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we did 8 years ago to help Democrats find their spines the first time Trump came into office.
This guy telling people to find their spine, it's funny to me. He weighs 95 pounds. He's never been in a fight in his life.
His face looks way older than he probably is, though. Look at that.
He looks like the male version of Bonnie Blue. Like he broke the record for how many guys he could get banged by. Like 2,000. And that's what his face looks like. And his wife is smirking because she was like watching that shit. She's very mousy. I bet that they do some of the weirdest shit. I bet they are assholes, to these people.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And she just looks like she looks like a younger version of a lot of the older mousy women that show up. I mean, it's the same haircut, but they're just older, and more like they know what they're doing, man.
Yeah, it's so I always emphasize the Rachel Maddow how she features these guys because it's hard to believe that they would have influence over people.
They have to be pushed by her. Like they would, it's all part of the operative. It's just
I bet Maddow pegs the hell out of that guy.
Oh yeah.
Some of that stuff you were talking about earlier about how difficult they make it to do some of these things and to find the information request, and they try and charge you. That's right out of the Simple Sabotage manual from the OSS, which became the CIA, written in 1940. You can read it. I mean, you can buy it on Amazon if you want, but you can also just type in Simple Sabotage Manual, OSS, PDF, and it'll show up. And you start reading through that thing, and it's like, man, they use these administrative things like you were talking about just to prevent anybody from doing anything they don't want them to do. And
it's all been in front of our eyes. That's just like the most annoying. It's all the secrets, all the things they do. It's all, they announce it. They like at this. They announced it the other day. We're going to do all these protests and stuff. Like, it's just. Ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is, I thought this was hilarious. This was the rally before the Treasury rally. This is the one where they kept bringing people out to tell people you should be terrified and you're going to die unless you listen to me. And this guy's like, I can't remember his name, but he's apparently a congressman. He's like 26 or something like that. And really empowering message that he delivers to this crowd of people who's watching this thing here.
Oh, I've seen him on Twitter at least, whoever this guy is.
They probably plucked him out of one of the same places that they got AOC.
Oh, yeah.
We have to remind people, you can't pay your rent. You don't have health care. There's gun violence in your community. The climate crisis is ravaging your community. And it's not because of immigrants. It's not because of trans people. It's not because of black people. It's not because of the people around you. Stop looking around for a person to blame and look up. Look at the people who
usually, like you're expecting here, look within, look in the mirror.
for
Or
generations
look at the government.
have been
The government.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
leaving us crumbs. This is how the fascists gain their power, by making us look at each other for who to blame instead of looking at them. And we have the opportunity, especially locally, to make sure that our neighbors, our family, the people in our church, the people in our school, the people we love know that we have this thing that brings us together, which is the fact that for too long we haven't been given the means to live. You know,
haven't been given the means to live.
Well, he's getting paid off of the taxpayers.
It's crazy. We haven't been given the means to live, and all your problems they're not your fault. They're somebody else's fault. That is the baseline message. That they have to disempower these people to activate them to show up to the Colorado State Capitol and chant probably the wildest shit.
Yeah.
It's crazy. What are your thoughts on what you've seen from these clips in relation to your experience?
I mean, yeah, it's just like before the times you've shown me this stuff. It's exactly what they've done and they're doing. And, you know, that's why it was getting all panicky, not panicky. I'm in control of my emotions, okay? I'm a woman. But, like, just like it gets, everyone's just like, Trump's got it. You know, all this stuff's going on. And then I see what's going on here and know what's been happening here and know, like, the people I know who are all, a lot of us are getting really, you know, we have to like take breaks and step out because it's just like, what? How can we fight against when they are paying people to show up and say they want to force doctors to trans your kids? Like, you know, there's just so many layers of all this stuff, especially in Mike City, you know, everything. But yeah, it's exactly what's happening. And people do, if you're in even a little bit, there's some school board in Florida that has done this. I can guarantee it because there are some blue areas in Florida. So I can guarantee this has happened in Florida. You're not safe. Texas, I know for sure it's happened at some areas in Texas. Like, right. It's just, you have to, it's a pain in the butt. And that's why, like, I never blame people for not, because he works so hard all the time. You know, there's like so many, like a lot of people can't do this, can't pay attention to everything. And that's been the plan. But if you can do something, just do at least a little, even if it's parody. I've met people who just show up and do parody, and it's their own. Mm-hmm. I always tell, I have a friend who's done it, and I'm like, it's kind of like a open mic a little bit, you know.
Absolutely, you can treat it like an open mic, 100%.
Yeah, and I've gotten better about my speaking each time I go, even though I still even when I'm at home doing, because you do it at home, you could do testimony from at home on a lot of like state capital stuff, and it's like, I still get nervous. Well, I'm like, these people are fucking idiots, you know? And like when you go down there and sit there, they're above you. They try to like,
they talk down to you and they talk in this matter of fact tone, which that's just like the news does. They say things crazy in a matter of fact. This is a universal truth type tone. And they just, they're organized. They're well funded and organized insanity. Delivered with a Jake Tapper like demeanor, and
exactly, one of them looks like Jake Tapper right now. I'm like, Christ.
This woman here, God, look at this woman. Wait, this was the person who was in charge of this. This is last night. They're training. Look at this woman on the left. That was the lead facilitator of this training here. This woman on the left. Looks like she has and
Randy Weingarten. That's the union.
That's the one who was talking about how she infiltrated. Like, we got the mom groups and we did all this, and she says here that okay, so in the red states like Florida, where you might not expect some of this. This is why you might need to be even more careful because of the example she gives of the local action that was taken to help achieve one of her goals right here with this woman who looks, if you're an NBA fan, like Ben Wallace, trans Ben Wallace, whose hair is great.
So, the fear is real. The anxiety is real. Everybody feels it. Everybody sees it. And, part of this moment of time right now is to also be in community with each other, with our friends, with our, kids, with our grandkids, with our parents, with others. Do whatever helps us ground ourselves, because the chaos is the point and the cruelty is the point. So every time there's a
that's what they emphasize. They emphasize that they're trying to kill you in every message. It's crazy.
chaos, we got to meet it with community. Every time there's the cruelty, we have to meet it with compassion. I'm not screaming this. I'm saying this in a way that I want everyone to hear, because they want you to be on edge and they want you to hide under.
That's what you're doing.
And
that's what you're
right.
That is what the
100%.
all of this stuff coming all at once is about. And it's stupid and it will fail. It would have been far more strategic of Trump if he did it slowly and strategically, but he's not that kind of guy.
Nice.
It's all about the shock for him. Now, last week, and Ezra and Leah said it, something happened that made me believe we will win. And that is when they made the mistake of going full Project 2025 and freezing the entire federal budget,
which they never did.
All of a sudden, it actually impacted people on the ground immediately.
No, it didn't.
So people who had head start the next day didn't know whether or not they would have a place for their kids. The Medicaid portal went down in state after state. People had no idea whether or not they'd have doctor appointments. Same.
She's just lying there. That's the wrong. Actually, wasn't the clip I wanted to show you, but
do you know who she is? She's the head of the teachers union, and like during COVID was like, oh, they're gonna die if you don't take the teachers out. And then she's like, we never wanted to keep kids out of school. Like they're just liars.
Yeah. I mean, she's
purely.
She
probably makes.
Sure.
I'm sure she makes over $1 million as a union boss. Like I'm
just
sure.
Like grandma here, her if she has grandkids. I mean, she looks like a real bitch.
That we do together in the face of chaos. We need to come together as community. As King said, chaos our community. In the face of cruelty, we need to come together with compassion, and we need to do what Indivisible is talking to us about in terms of this constant fight back, bringing it local to make sure we're holding all our elected officials accountable. And look what just happened last week in Iowa, in a place the Democrats lost in November. They just elected a Democratic state representative by like 20 points who started talking about the economy. What's the price of eggs? What's the price of gas?
Started talking about exactly what Republicans talk about. And this is what they'll do in red area. And she said that a Democrat lost there. So the red areas, it's not going to be as open as it is in Colorado. It's going to be communist saying the things that Republicans and libertarians are receptive to. So
right.
They aren't noticed. That's why this person won. I mean, this is the exact same message that Trump was delivering. The price of eggs,
Right.
It's like it's, and there's even a clip. I won't play all. I mean, like I said, we could do an 8-hour show, but one of the questions asked of Ezra and is Ezra the guy or girl, whatever, that weird couple, was, should we organize in secret? And the answer was basically, it depends where you are. The goal in some areas is we want to just bring attention, just do crazy shit to bring attention to it. But other areas, maybe a little bit secrecy. And I think that type of language manipulation, which is something that it's like the Leninist manual of how to organize, is in areas where people are they push back against the communist red. Then you take the communist red off and you pretend to be one of them. So you got to pay attention in Florida, Georgia, and all of these other areas too. I didn't ask you how long you had, so I don't want to keep you too long. We could do a part 2. We could play a few more clips. How much more time do you have with us?
I can go for a little longer if you have more clips. And you definitely should clip that Randy Weingarten, because that'd be good to go after her on Twitter.
Yeah, totally.
It's insane.
It is funny, first shot. Egg prices and gas prices blamed on Trump after 2 weeks.
And you know what was funny? That so out here they made a cage-free egg bill a couple years ago, and then this year it had all of them had to be in compliance. And even the grocery store said, because of this law, we have a shortage going back into like October. Yeah. And then a really good Republican out here named Ryan Gonzalez said, I'm going to repeal that, which is like the good kind of bill. We shouldn't have 3. If you want to have cage-free facilities, go for it, but no one has to anymore. And so when they were like fighting against this, the people were like, why is it this much there? Why is it so much cheaper in New Mexico? And they're like, well, that's because of market forces and the avian flu. They're blaming all the avian flu, but also market forces in other states. But market forces in our state have no magical bearing on it. It's just like, they're so awful. Why would, if you care about the working class and the price of eggs, why wouldn't you just take that one thing off? And they're like, well, people had to work hard to get into compliance. That's fine, but they can stay and they can still do that. But other places and new barns don't have to, and they're making it sound like that's harder. It's wild, man. They're like, oh, yeah. I mean,
that's what the whole ideology, I'd say that in quotes, is. It's disempowering. You're being oppressed by this evil force, and we will tell you how to overcome it if you just follow us.
Yeah.
It's as simple as that. And I don't I know people who are pretty smart in every other avenue of life, but who will repeat these things, these scripts that I get in my email to me when it comes to DEI, and DEI is actually blah, blah, blah. Literally, white women were the most, they benefited the most from DEI. Okay, and they're sitting there saying, well, black people, it's not. I'm like, what does it have to do with black people? White women got the biggest boost here. And they just say, they say words like heteronormative. I'm like, dude, don't ever fucking say that word to me again. Okay?
Shut your face.
Heteronormative. Nobody knows what the fuck you mean. All the people you're talking about don't even know what that fucking word means.
Yeah.
So these are funny. All right, I'll give you 3 more, and maybe we'll do a part 2.
Perfect.
All right. So this is an example of just what I mentioned earlier about how they really strike fear in the heart before they deliver there. I mean, this is parody to me, this shit. It's so crazy. Hold on.
Oh, God, yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Damn it.
I'm surprised you got that soundboard thing in with your new setup for the evening. Good job.
Yeah, it was I had to scramble to get it together, but just gotta make it happen. All right, that's the one.
Let's talk about fighting for democracy under increasing authoritarian creep. Trump is.
What does that mean? I mean, he sounds like an increasing authoritarian creep, is what.
Right.
Promised to prosecute his political opponents, weaponize the justice system, and unleash hell on his preferred targets, from immigrants to people of color to racial justice advocates to Muslims to people with disabilities to trans kids. With Trump's followers emboldened, we also expect a rise in anti-Semitism, white nationalism, and other dangerous ideologies, making the risk of political violence even more real.
No wonder some of our progressive friends are so afraid of rising anti-Semitism and white nationalism and such a real threat that this cuck is going to protect them from.
It's reasonable
As Trump's like Trump's sitting with Bibi.
Netanyahu. Trump's also promoting the rise in anti-Semitism.
The potential costs of political engagement right now, especially if you are a member of one or more of the communities we know will be targeted, or if you're in an area with repressive local or state government. Part of the fascist playbook is trying to shut down the pro-democracy side's activists, institutions, and bases of power. That's us, either through official government action or the threat of it. We can anticipate similar threats to our allies like organized labor and reproductive freedom, immigrant rights, and racial justice organizations. Safety, security, and digital preparedness during Trump 2.0. If you check out the guide, you can see a link on page 21. We've assembled guidance on managing personal security and risk for indivisible activists. There are absolutely steps you can take to mitigate.
The whole thing is to make people think the threat of violence is real, but also at the same time that they must embrace that, as I mentioned earlier, and that puts people on high alert. I mean, this type of talk is going to make some people, it'll be a small percentage of them, think they're always going to be on alert, like somebody is going to try and kill them when they're around, which you can get these people to then do violent acts because of that. It's very manipulative.
It is.
All right.
That makes people, when they show up, makes people more like ready to like, oh, you know.
Right. And they see what he's telling them in things that aren't really there.
Mm-hmm.
I'll send you a link, and maybe in part 2 we can go through them, but I'll send you some of the links to these resources and stuff they have that you and anybody else who wants to use these tactics against them can use.
Right.
Because they are, I'll tell you what, they are organized. There's no doubt about that. So I thought this is funny because we were talking about trans earlier. This is Ezra's view on what is gross about, the transing kids situation here and trans women playing male sports.
Question from Brenna in Michigan. How to organize resistance? Should secrecy be one of the working principles to protect?
I already told you about that one. Sorry.
How dare you?
I'm such a fucking idiot. I'm like a trans.
Immigration policy. That is one bill. Crazy bill. There's then another bill that was introduced. This anti-trans kids bill that addresses trans kids in sports at the local level. What I would say about this is, instead of doing actually anything to make schools safer, preventing gun violence, for instance, what this bill does is targets trans kids and singles them out basically for bullying and for special focus by unelected bureaucrats at the local level. It creates this kind of vicious one-size-fits-all policy.
They're saying what they do. They're saying what they do.
Right? It's crazy.
Unelected bureaucrats like that lady we watched are helping to make trans people feel special. Like, what the hell?
And the way he's framing this as oppressive, with his tone, it's just
funds from any school that allows transgender kids to play sports on girls or women's sports teams. And look, it just
speeds past that. They're taking the funds away from anybody who lets trans play on women's or sports teams. I mean, that is so backwards to not reject that idea.
Right.
I mean, I'm going to play the WNBA. My career has been revived, potentially my basketball career, because of this, but it shouldn't be allowed.
Right.
It harms all women and girls. It potentially requires kids to submit to, this is gross, to physical genital inspections just to play sports with their friends.
That's why he thinks it's gross. And he says this like 3 times during this whole training, that it's so gross about this oppressive legislation they presented against allowing trans women to play women's sports because it subjects them to having their genitals inspected to even play. You have to get a physical to play high school basketball. Right. Anyway, you have to get your genitals touched. That's not new. But that's the gross part about it to him.
There might be rules, boundaries, just like all this stuff. There might be an audit. They might say we can't spend money on that. Like they just can't like fathom the idea that there are rules and boundaries and
Absolutely.
things.
You know, they don't have a kid. There's no way they have a kid.
No.
It's funny. There's some people in the theater community with so one guy I know, producer. He's Jewish, obviously, and very, very liberal. And I'll see him at random things sometimes, and public facing, he's very progressive. But he'll come over to me, like went to a friend's birthday party at an Atlanta Hawks game, maybe a year or so ago, and everybody else was over there, and I was getting a beer, and he came over and he stood next to me because I guess he can say these things to me because I'm such a white nationalist, transphobe, and he starts going, man, my kid's teacher started saying all this trans stuff, and he just started going. I was like, you fucking transphobe, get away from me, you piece of shit. I had never heard him talk like that before, but his kid had experienced it in school as she got older, and all of a sudden he was changing his tune. He just wasn't willing to say that to all of the progressives that were there. He was only willing to say it to me.
People,
such a
such
creep.
Follower pushovers.
100%. All right, one more, and I'll let you go. I'll let you give your final thoughts. Thanks for doing the show. Always enjoy it.
No, thanks for inviting me. Yeah, I know this was like perfect timing today.
It really is. I mean, they're going hardcore with this shit. I'm glad that you are setting a good example for taking local action. We need smart, hot chicks leading men into the local fight.
And I was trying to, I'm like, I know I shouldn't have to be worried about it. He's like, then don't think about it. But I'm like, that doesn't stop them, and like, it doesn't stop them.
Right. No, totally. You should use it. It's definitely an advantage that we have over them. There's not any, other than AOC. I'll give AOC. She's good looking. And Nancy Pelosi, just fabulous. But Nancy Pelosi, that was actually her outfit that Yee's wife wore at the Grammys. She borrowed it.
Yeah, the mommy milkers.
That was so funny because that's the only reason Yee showed up. People think he got kicked out of the Grammys. He didn't get kicked out. They went, he told his wife to take her jacket off on the red carpet, and he did this thing where he just is weird. I mean, Yee's just like, they show their titties all the time. I'm going to take it there. And they criticize me, they criticize themselves. And then he got the fuck out of there after showing off his wife's body. I thought it was hilarious.
God. There's private swinger house parties you can go do this stuff at, but they have no boundaries. Once again.
Yeah. She's going to show up next year, have a swastika tattoo on her tits. If he goes all the way there, man. So the audio on this rally is not good, but this is from the rally last night, the nobody elected Elon rally, which is one of their talking points. This is that lesbian that I was telling you about. Kind of hard to hear her at first, but you can definitely hear her closing message. I just can't imagine seeing this person as a leader.
In the house.
I put the captions on. Maybe that'll help. No, just fucking show the captions, dude. What the hell's going on here? All right.
Every movement needs a scrappy little dyke, and
Every movement needs a scrappy little dyke.
And that
person.
So that's your brand. Like that's who you present yourself as. I've never walked around and said, every movement needs a neurotic yet sarcastically funny hetero white man. I don't enter rooms doing that. But that's who they are.
And then I don't feel bad about calling them bull dykes because they want to call themselves this. So guess what?
She needs to look the part a little better. If I'm hearing a dyke, a scrappy little dyke, I'm thinking somebody that plays shortstop on the softball team.
Yeah.
Look the part.
Her hair's a little long.
Right. Let's get a spike military cut there and cut the sleeves off that sport coat.
Let's bring it, everybody. We need to bring all of the energy, all of the talents we have. Each of you have something special to bring to this movement. I see lots of people out here saying, "What can we do? How do we put our energy in?" Here's the marching orders, folks. First and foremost, you cannot lose hope. I know everyone is exhausted. You're overwhelmed. You feel like you got nothing to give. I get it. You must do what you can when you can. And when you need a break, you turn to the person next to you and say, it's all for you. You go in now. You do what you can when you can. We need all of you to be our eyes and ears. Authoritarians win when we stop paying attention. You have to tune in. You have to document. You have to post what you're seeing. You have to record the truth and get the truth out. I know how tired you are. I know it. But you are not
bringing
just
it down.
Right,
Bring it
yeah.
down.
Yeah.
Yeah, just a
she relates to
professional.
them. She's a pro.
Professional.
Watching this rally was like a competition of people trying to show they could be the best orator. With Chuck Schumer was like the worst one of all of them.
For you. You're doing it for your neighbors who don't have a pot to piss in. You're doing it for the folks who don't know if their kids are going to get fed tomorrow. This is not just about us. It's about everyone. It's about everyone.
Maybe those people would have money if the government didn't steal it and go and put it in a USAID.
Yeah. Turnin says eyes and ears sounds like see something, say something. And what she said there, the authoritarianism rises when we're not paying attention. I think, what we're talking about, communism captures when you're not paying attention. So they're crazy. Some of their messages, when the base of them are useful, and their resources on the Indivisible website are definitely useful.
We know the people who have not let us in today. Yes. They are not thinking about us. They are only thinking
your money.
So here's what you need to do.
Oh, okay. I was trying to figure out what this guy to the left was holding it. I was like, is he about to hit her with that? It's like a gold cane.
Yeah.
And so here's her closing message, what everybody needs to do.
I need each and every one of you to get in touch with your inner scrappy little dyke. I need you to be fierce. I need you to be focused. I need you to wake up every day and say, I am in the fight. Are you with me?
Is that like a scrappy little dyke? Is that what they wake up saying?
I guess that's who's running the school districts here who go to testify on that shit and the anti-gun stuff. So
it's crazy. I just can't. Like, there's got to be at least some people there who are like, yeah. And then she says, I need everybody to get in touch with Scrappy Little Dyke. And they're like, yeah. Like they're looking around to see if everybody, dudes start like trying to finger their dyke vagina. I don't know. It's just a weird message to be influenced by.
Yeah. Gross.
But they get the data for the target audience, and these are the types of messages. I mean, she got elected. I don't know where. A town full of scrappy dykes, I guess.
That'd be funny to parody. I'm gonna have to write that down and try and parody it.
She probably hates like non-scrappy dykes and hot girls.
Everyone needs a hot girl who loves to fight the government.
Hell yeah, that would definitely. You're right. You're absolutely. That's something that Trump is very good at. The branding with Trump is he always puts beautiful women as his spokespeople versus scrappy little dykes over here. Chuck Schumer on the other side.
Oh,
do you have closing thoughts?
No, I'm glad we got to do this. I know whoever ends up watching this, I know it's a pain in the butt, but just paying attention, especially if you're in like Colorado and whatever, like, I don't know, also live, because these people, like, I don't know what's going to happen federally or locally. It's just like, I don't know. So enjoy stuff too.
Yeah. It can be fun too. Like, do you have fun doing some of this stuff? Don't you meet a lot of people?
Yeah, I mean, like,
sometimes.
Oh yeah, like when I was at the gun rally, everyone's like, "Oh, I follow you on Twitter." I met a bunch of people, and then like I know all these people who are bigger names, and so like we weren't waiting in like the regular room; we were waiting in one of the like person's office, and it's just fun to like get to talk and hang out with people. So yeah, there's stuff like that that's fun,
right?
And it's like that I like. it's a pain in the ass to get there. But yeah, once it sucks, but it's fun. And the more bigger group, the bigger like network you can build, the more people like I had a guy who met me there that day who follows me on Twitter. Then he got to hang out with me and all these people. I'm like, you know, you're just having a good time. And it's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that helps people because he's like, I've never done this before, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, now you're going to like it. Now it was a positive experience, even if they push this gun ban through. Like, it's just stuff like that's good, I guess. So
Yeah,
that's my final thoughts.
like,
have fun. Yeah, have
That's
fun.
great. That's 100%. You have fun with it. The
But
stuff that
touch
I've
grass. It's got to touch
Absolutely.
grass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These people are consumed with it. They try to get their followers to be consumed with it. You don't have to be as consumed with it as they are.
Right.
I would just, and I'm trying to do this myself, cut the time you spend on watching the very entertaining national show in half and pick something you can do. Like for me, now that I know that there's going to be all this shit going on at the Georgia Capitol every day until the session ends, that's where I'm going to do man on the street stuff.
Awesome.
And that's fun for me. So that's fun for me, and I know it can bring attention to it. So whether it's making videos or just telling people about it, it helps just to let people know what's going on, because a lot of people don't realize that they're about to have their town turned commie red, and it doesn't matter what Trump says. Their school boards are going to be trans in every fucking kid that comes through there. So
Behind the parents' back.
100%.
Protected by the state.
At forestmommy.com on X. I put your link tree in the show description. There's a lot of good comments. Sorry I didn't get to all the comments. We've had so much material, but we'll do a part 2 soon. And we'll come back and we'll hit some comments, and I'll take note of some that we'll read. Definitely had one here that I did want to read for you. That first shot said, "Dang, who is the hot blonde?" Well,
Thanks
that
for
would
shot.
be Forest Mommy.
First shot.
Follow her. Watch her shows. You're doing some new shows now, right?
Yep. So Friday nights. Oh yeah, I guess I should plug that. Friday nights, me and my producer Paul are doing a show with us. We'll randomly have a guest on, but it'll mostly be us, and it's a late night show. Starts at 11 Eastern. So we're crass talking about it. It's start on YouTube, and then we go to Rumble. So we just hard R it and like just go crazy. So, but it's been fun. It's been fun. It's called The Correct Opinion. I got to add that into my link tree too.
It's really funny. The hard R's really come out when your producer drinks a little.
Oh yeah. Well, now he's not drinking. Now he's not drinking.
That's good though.
I am. So
yeah, it's funny. I was watching y'all the other night, and your co-hosts were having a conversation, and you were just kind of listening for a little while. I don't remember exactly what you said, but you just chimed in with like 4 or 5 words, and it was perfectly hilarious, and perfectly timed. So check that out for sure. And I appreciate what you do, and I appreciate all you guys for hanging out. Propagandafight.com's website. At Freedom Act Radio is where you can find me. We will do it again soon. Talk to you
thanks.
guys later. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.
Thanks, Denver Attaway.